Om Ajnanathivandasya Gnananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and I request all the Vaishnavas assembled here to please pray for me and bless me to talk something today. Hopefully something meaningful and useful, and especially for me to educate myself a little bit more today. Let's go to the verse today. Today we are reading text 14 from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13, canto 1. Kanchit kalam atavat sit satkruto devavat sukham bhratur jyeshtasya seyaskrit sarvesam sukhamawahan. Kanchit kalam atavat sit satkruto devavat sukham bhratur jyeshtasya seyaskrit sarvesam sukhamawahan. Kanchit kalam atavat sit satkruto devavat sukham Bhratur Jeshtasya Sreyaskrit Sarvesham Sukhamavahan. Word to word translation. Kanchit, for a few days. Kalam, time. Atha, thus. Avatsit, resided. Satkritaha, being well treated. Devavat, just like a godly personality. Sukham, amenities. Bhratuhu, of the brother. Jeshtasya, of the elder. Shreyakrit, for doing good to him. Sarvesham, all others. Sukham, happiness. Avahan, made it possible. Translation. Thus, Mahatma Vidura, being treated just like a godly person by his kinsmen, remained there for a certain period, just to rectify the mentality of his eldest brother, and in this way bring happiness to all the others. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Saintly persons like Vidura must be treated as well as a denizen from heaven. In those days, denizens of heavenly planets used to visit homes like that of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and sometimes persons like Arjuna and others used to visit higher planets. Narada is a spaceman who can travel unrestrictedly not only within the material universes but also in the spiritual universes. Even Narada used to visit the palace of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and what to speak of other celestial demigods. It is only the spiritual culture of the people concerned that makes interplanetary travel possible, even in the present body. Maharaj Yudhishthira therefore received Vidura in the manner of reception offered to the demigods. Mahatma Vidura had already adopted the renounced order of life, and therefore he did not return to his paternal palace to enjoy some material comforts. He accepted out of his own mercy what was offered to him by Maharaj Yudhishthira, but the purpose of living in the palace was to deliver his elder brother Dhritarashtra, who was too much materially attached. Dhritarashtra lost all his state and descendants in the fight with Maharaja Yudhishthira. And still, due to his sense of helplessness, he did not feel ashamed to accept the charity and hospitality of Maharaj Yudhishthira. On the part of Maharaj Yudhishthira, it was quite in order to maintain his uncle in a befitting manner. But acceptance of such magnanimous hospitality by Dhritarashtra was not at all desirable. He accepted it because he thought that there was no alternative. Vidura particularly came to enlighten Dhritarashtra and to give him a lift to the higher status of spiritual cognition. It is the duty of enlightened souls to deliver the fallen ones, and Vidura came for that reason. But talks of spiritual enlightenment are so refreshing that while instructing Dhritarashtra, Vidura attracted the attention of all the members of the family, and all of them took pleasure in hearing him patiently. This is the way of spiritual realization. This message should be heard attentively, and if spoken by a realized soul, it will act on the dormant heart of the conditioned soul. And by continuously hearing, one can attain the perfect stage of self-realization. So this verse is talking about the reason why Vidura stayed with Maharaj Yudhishthira for some time, and also it shows the greatness of, it also talks about the greatness of Mahatmas, what they do, and also the good qualities of Yudhishthira Maharaj, and also the material nature of Dhritarashtra. Here in this verse, this is a very significant verse or a chapter, because this verse especially was very inspiring to me. Because we can draw parallels with our life too, because we don't know what time we have to leave or we have to quit our body, whether it is in a timely or an untimely fashion. But there is one person without a preparation versus there is another person who is fully prepared spiritually, which is Vidura and Dhritarashtra. So through this verse, Mahatma Vidura is giving us association through Srila Prabhupada's purport today. And and from the purport we can see that Vidura whole purpose of staying was to awaken Dhritarashtra. So, every action of Mahatmas has a purpose. So, in previous verses, like yesterday's class, Govinda Mohini Mataji was explaining how the Yadu dynasty was finished. So even though Mahatma Vidura knew this, once he arrived and the kingdom of Yudhishthira, even though he was served very nicely, asked the pleasantries by Yudhishthira, knowing the nature of Pandavas and their relationship with Krishna, he does not disclose the fact that the Yadu dynasty has left this planet. It was also very inspiring the way Mataji explained on the two reasons why the Yadu dynasty left this planet. So even though he knew that Yadu dynasty left this planet, he still did not disclose, just not to cause any displeasure to Pandavas, because he knows that it will cause a great amount of distress and pain to them. Such is the quality of Mahatmas, because they don't want to cause any distress, or they don't want to discuss about anything that can cause distress to the persons whom they are talking to. And because it will only increase or propagate the sadness. So this verse also again extends the Mahatma nature of Vidura. That on the other side, Dhritarashtra, who has lost everybody in the war, instead of seeking at least now the higher realization, he simply takes up the facilities provided by Yudhishthira, and stays and enjoys the material benefits that Yudhishthira is providing. So, and he thinks that there is no other alternative, because he is so much attached to the kingdom and all the worldly pleasures. But whereas, when Vidura arrives, so Yudhishthira asks about his travel and his well-being. Similarly, there is a similar situation in the previous chapters, where when sages are assembled in Naimisaranya, and when Sutta Mahamuni arrives, Saunak Rishi and all the other sages assemble and ask different questions about about Krishna to Sutta Goswami. And they want to know the glories of Sukadeva Goswami. So, for example, in the first canto, second chapter, there's in the verse 5, the verse goes like this: Munaya sadhu prashtoham bhavabdir lokamangalam yatkrita Krishna samprasno yenatma suprasidati. The translation says, when all these questions are asked, Sutta Goswami says, very expertly, they put all the questions which are very apt for the whole mankind, which will benefit the whole mankind. So Sutta Goswami says, "O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self." So, Sutta Goswami gets very pleased by the questions Saunaka Muni and other sages ask him. He also continues, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yudo bhakti radokshaje ahaitaki apratihata yatma suprasidati. The supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So these are the very these verses look very parallel to me, like how Vidura when he came, and how Sutta Mahamuni when he arrived, how sages in the Naimisaranya approached. So when Vidura was welcomed so nicely, like a demigods from heavenly planets by Yudhishthira, since he's such a great person who's spiritually very elevated, Yudhishthira being a perfect grahastha and a devotee and perfect nephew, and also perfect householder, he welcomed Mahatma Vidura very nicely. So, but Mahatmas, wherever they go, they do not waste time. And they do not waste time in giving the most important knowledge, which is beneficial to everyone, all the living entities. So, like their every move has a meaning, where they go, what they do, and every act has a meaning. So, and their motive is only to think of good for others. Like they talk about Krishna, they think about Krishna, they carry Krishna in their heart. So, and also he has accepted the renounced order of life. So saintly people like Vidura, they can even purify place of pilgrimages. They're also called Tirthapada because they carry Lord in their heart. So here in the purport, also Prabhupada says, it is only the spiritual culture of the people concerned that makes interplanetary travel possible, even in the present body. So many people have done, in the purport it says Narada Muni, Arjuna, Narada Muni could travel anywhere, and Arjuna traveled sometimes to heavenly planets. And Narada Muni or very many heavenly planets, demigods came to meet Yudhishthira. So interplanetary travel was possible at that time. But these days, people try different yogas, thinking that they can travel by learning different types of artificial things. But but real devotees do not really care for all these siddhis, and Prabhupada has made it very simple for us, to follow Bhakti Yoga. These days we see that, scientists are discovering so many things, but Bhagavatam has already stated so many facts that are being discovered right now. For example, Sanjaya having a remote view. He already had a remote view to, describe what is happening in Mahabharata to Dhritarashtra. Whereas right now we are using all this technology to remotely operate, but Sanjay already did it. So, so Prabhupada explained us gave us a very good knowledge, which is Bhakti Yoga, which is the perfect knowledge. So when we learn this perfect knowledge very well, all these others byproducts of whether it's traveling to different planets or understanding past, present, future, and all these things will automatically come. So and also another example of Mahatma that comes into my mind is Sukadeva Goswami. He used to go to the houses only during the milking of the cows. Used to happen in the householders' houses. So, and he used to take little milk from them, and not because he needed it. He's like, he is a self-realized soul. But he, just for the benefit of the householders, he would take a little milk from them. And then wherever he visited, he would only sanctify that place. And and because he's a self-realized soul, and also as we said, Mahatmas carried Lord in their heart. So every place he visited was sanctified. Now coming back to Dhritarashtra, staying with Dhritarashtra only showed his material mentality. He's thinking that, instead of spiritually, progressing himself, he just depended on Yudhishthira. So when Vidura came, so what he did, looking at the condition of the Tarashtra, he and also he has a brotherly relationship. Even though he was insulted very badly by Dhritarashtra, he accepted Yudhishthira's invitation just because, so that he can enlighten his brother, and make him go into the right path. He stayed there. He starts guiding his brother, in imparting spiritual knowledge to him. So the quality of Vidura showed here is like, he simply, he could have taken the material benefits that were being offered, but him being a devotee, and him being accepting the renounced order, he simply depended on the Lord, and he took the guidance of the Lord, and he took the instructions of the Lord. So and he did not attach himself to any of the material desires. Where that is the difference between Yudhishthira and Vidura and Dhritarashtra. So, and Yudhishthira also, he did not just, even though Dhritarashtra and his sons fought with him, against him in the war, he took, like a perfect person, like a perfect king and a householder, he took care of his uncle at the highest level, and not being not being attached to anything. And in the later verses we'll see, even he left the kingdom at certain point. He could, he was that detached. So he's a perfect devotee. When a person is a perfect devotee, he nothing, whether something is some comforts are available to him or not, whether he gets him or not, it doesn't matter. So he's a very detached and renounced person, because they're very trained at a very young age. They're trained aptly, very nicely, all the Pandavas, and they took the guidance and shelter of Krishna. So that made them the perfect devotees, and which taught them the perfect renunciation also. So when Dhritarashtra was given this knowledge by Vidura, when he was taught by Vidura during his stay, all the rest of the family who were able to hear Vidura's talk were very enlivened, were very interested, were hearing with a lot of attention, because what Vidura was talking was the science of the soul, and he was talking about the perfect knowledge. Because it was the knowledge about how to get out of this material world and to engage in the supreme service of the Lord. So, and because Vidura is such an elevated soul, and he's such a pure devotee at heart, so whatever he is speaking, whatever Krishna Katha he is talking, was very attractive and palatable to the people in the palace. And and this verse also stresses about about two things. One is Shravanam, and other part is association. So we have heard many times by Srila Prabhupada and many senior devotees and sannyasis, the fact that the stress of the fact that anyone who hears Bhagavatam attains the supreme destination. And we also heard from our gurus and many senior devotees that we have 9 process of bhakti, but in all of them Shravanam is very important, like what we are trying to do every day, morning Bhagavatam recitation, which is very helpful, because we want to hear Bhagavatam every day so that we can have very Krishna conscious day to begin with, and we can carry out rest of our day in a very Krishna conscious way. And this Shravanam also gives the stress that we hear every day, and we practically try to apply that in our day-to-day sadhana. So so that such is the importance of Shravanam. So in different stages of devotional service, now one should, first one is Adhav Shraddha. So this Adhav Shraddha, um, attention and faith, it is gained through two things. One is association, other is through scriptures. But more than scriptures, association of saintly persons and devotees for us is very important, because I heard so many times that 80% of our progress happens with association. So even though virtually we are able to do that through this call, that what we are trying to do is get association, hear from each other, try to enlighten each other every morning and get benefit out of it. So such is the importance of association. When and also when pure devotees like sannyasis come and speak, we're just so enlivened. Like we just had very wonderful lectures on Gaura Purnima, on the occasion of Gaura Purnima. They were so enlivening, because we are hearing from much elevated souls, and definitely when we hear from them, the Krishna Katha becomes so palatable and so inspiring that we want to hear more. And also we had a very nice Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remembrance verses that Satrupa Mataji and rest of the devotees did. It was so inspiring, because whole day we were able to have a glimpse of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's inspiring verses and go through those. So that is how we took another form of association, even though through virtually. So definitely association inspires and takes us to the next level. Like how Vidura was taking the association of Maitreya Muni, and and got the benefit out of it, in realizing the qualities and elevate him, spiritually and enlighten and get enlightened. In same way, Dhritarashtra was getting the association of Vidura, and that transformed him very rapidly. And in the coming verse, we can see how Dhritarashtra finally takes the Vanaprastha ashram along with Gandhari. So to sum up, this verse had the greatness of Yudhishthira, how one should be received, any Mahatma should be received, and the material or the worldly attachments of Dhritarashtra, and and the importance of association, what we can get benefited, and the importance of sharing the knowledge, the transcendental knowledge with everybody. So with that, I will stop here. If there are any comments or any sharings, I would request everyone to do it. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandot Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. A long time hearing from you. Thank you so much for your class. I was thinking some reflections of this Dhritarashtra's attachment. A few things, right? So whenever we hear Bhagavatam in the association of the devotees, what is our main focus? We will just hear, okay, we heard and just forget it. But I was realizing and thinking about yesterday that, Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Prasparam. Of course, we are not pure devotees yet, but at least we should practice whatever we know, we should exchange in the Bhagavatam classes. So everybody, nobody talks, but sometimes it's important to think that we need to, whatever the reflections just come out, that is what inspires people, inspires and pleasing Krishna. Now my reflection was, Dhritarashtra did not even have eyes. He is blind. I don't know how he got attached to this material, so much to the kingdom and everything. He can't even see. And how, I was thinking, in what way he was attached. He can't even enjoy, he can't even see anything. And in what way it is attached. And then I was comparing to Bilomangal Thakur. In fact, he had eyes. He said, yeah, I don't want this attraction anymore. And he got himself blind. And then he was able to see Krishna. These two comparisons, if you compare the Dhritarashtra and Bilomangal Thakur, it's extremes, right?
Yes,
and I don't understand, without eyes, how did he enjoy, and what is the attachment? I don't understand. I mean, maybe if you have some thoughts, Mataji.
Prabhu, you are much, much knowledgable person.
Honestly, I'm not asking in that way, but that thought came to my mind, honestly. So how much we are attached, even though, see, our senses are the one which is we are attached to our sense enjoyment through our senses, and eye is one of them main attraction. And without eyes, how do we really enjoy? It was just like mind-boggling question for me.
I guess, I mean, with my little knowledge, I guess it is, for whether you have eyes or not. I guess it is, if one person doesn't start their spiritual journey, then everybody thinks that, I'll be alive, when nobody is alive. So that's the that I'm not going to die. I mean, it's the attachment that keeps us continuing, that thinking that nothing is going to happen to me. I need everything. So that is the attachment. And since he didn't approach the spiritual path, and he's thinking his kids, because he wanted for the kingdom for his sons. He wanted the material enjoyment, and he's just attached to the temporary things. I think that's where, because of which Dhritarashtra didn't progress anywhere. Even though the Pandavas, I mean, even though Krishna was there in person, still because of his um, because of his attachments, and because of not realizing our existence. Like, for example, even in the current times, many people don't think, even you're not even practicing, but don't even think about God on a day-to-day basis. They think that they're living, they're earning money, they will just live on, and they will enjoy that money. They'll work through the week, enjoy over the weekend, and don't think about anything else, thinking that they'll live forever. So that such is the material attachment, right? But Vilomangala Thakur, at certain point, he realized about Krishna. So that, I think, that was the point from which he, because of that seed of bhakti, he was able to transcend. But Dhritarashtra, even though he had all the facilities, when we don't have that inclination, nothing is going to be useful. Krishna came in front of him. How unfortunate he is. Imagine Krishna in being present physically and not being able to realize. So I guess, his too much attachment to his family and the worldly things made him bereft of everything. Whether, that's my 2 cents. Anybody can add also.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Wonderful class, and even Balaram Prabhu's question was so wonderful, and your answer was wonderful. I just wanted to add something that I'm learning from, the Bhagavad Gita classes that I'm attending. So if the senses are not occupied by the service of the Lord, the only thing that will happen to it is the senses will be attached to the material modes. And not having eyes is not going to be a impediment, particularly in material pursuit, because mind is the biggest sense organ that we have. If you also look at aquatics, there are entire species of aquatics which don't have eyes at all because it's so dark in the ocean. But still they go through all of their they have a vibrant life. They go through all of the material enjoyment and stuff like that. So that's the two things that came to my mind. I just wanted to share.
Thank you, Prabhu. That was very nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, this is Jayanth. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to His Highness Srila Prabhupada. Just want to add my 2 cents to this question. Not sure how much it's been proven, but I heard that people that are not blessed with perfect organs at birth, all these congenital problems, their other senses are very strong. So in the sense that, maybe, so obviously with other senses being more strong, such people can still, derive the material pleasures that they need. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much for the class. This is Bhakti Priya Devi Dasi. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru.
Krishna Mataji.
You should speak more, Mataji. I like the way you have that in your heart, that comes out. That's what inspires other people. That what used to inspire me in the past. So please continue speaking and help us, in the progress. For Balaram Prabhu's question, the topic, right? That my thought process when I think about these purports, the Bhaktivedanta purports, right? What I understand is Dhritarashtra was very attached to his first 2 sons, right? Duryodhana and Dushasana. They were so bad that they were pulling Draupadi with her hair into the assembly hall. Even though Dhritarashtra was blind, he can still hear her scream and ask for help, but he didn't do anything. Okay, so he might be blind, but he knows what's going on around. And another incident was he was blind, but he still continued plotting to plan a house of lac where he sent Pandava's family to burn to death. And he celebrated, he did perform the ceremonies, death ceremony also. And he was having fun he was happy about it. Vidura did not tell him, at that time, but he was happy about it. So Dhritarashtra might look like a blind, old, pitiful person, but he is not blind. He knows what's going on around and he knows how to plot. So they purposefully, Srila Prabhupada brings up Bhima's name. He says, your sons were killed by Bhima, but still shamelessly you are sitting and living under their shelter. And you are living under the shelter of an enemy. How shameless that is.
Okay.
He's like trying to bring some sense into him, saying where you are living is like, that is dishonorable, right? If somebody kills some of your family member, why you live under their shelter? Even though Yudhishthira is very, very kind person, the Pandavas are bhaktas, they are devotees, right? Devotees are harmless to anybody, right? They are the safe. But still, at the age of Vanaprastha, he should be going and taking Vanaprastha and then to Sannyasa and getting back to Godhead. That should be the purpose of human life. And he wasn't doing it. He was just enjoying the, obeisances every morning by Yudhishthira, enjoying the palace luxuries and all. So one might think, he is a blind old man, but he is not really, that innocent blind fellow. So that's my realization from these purports. So just wanted to share.
Yeah, not only that, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the first verse of his conversation itself, he asked, right? How are my sons and sons of Pandu?
Yeah,
He separates right there itself.
they
you know,
separated him. Yeah, they separated the family right there.
right there itself. He didn't even go further in it. Just the first.
Yes,
you know.
he is curious about what's happening. He is worried that Duryodhana might run away from there because
Right.
of the piety of the Kshetra
Correct.
and because of the powerful Krishna on Pandava's side.
Mhm.
So yeah, so he knows, he is very well aware of what's going around him and still continued to. So, but Vidura is his well-wisher. So
Mhm.
Vidura wanted to enlighten that part for him. So
Yeah, and he didn't take the devotees. They don't really take any insult or any
right.
misbehavior to their heart. So similarly, Vidura, he was actually insulted very badly by
Yes, ma'am.
by Dhritarashtra and his son. Still, he did not take it to the heart because he's a great
Because
devotee.
he's a true Vaishnava. The
Right?
compassion is there and that's
Yeah,
his duty.
there's no personal motive. So
Yes, ma'am.
thank you, Mataji. Anything else?
I was thinking, thank you for all of your discussion. I'm feeling that even having eyes, even in the moment, practicing the moment, I'm still blind. Not taking up seriously.
Prabhu, you're too humble.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, if you are blind, we are all retarded, Prabhuji.
Okay, if there is no further discussion, then we can end the call.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you.